Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Paul, and I'd like to welcome you to the AI School of Possibilities. I am with my colleague Mary. Uh, Mary, I think the first thing we wanted to chat about was the whole OpenAI Hugging Face situation. Do you want to start us off with some comments and thoughts on that?
Hello. Hi, everybody. Yes, it's been an interesting conversation. I remember we touched on this last week, and you did say there was no need for as much panic as they had made it out to be because it wasn't trying to do anything nefarious, so to speak. But we've now found out that there's several layers to the conversations, isn't that right?
Yes. The fact that it's happened a few times, in fact, and it's was reported to the FBI, and it wasn't only Hugging Face that OpenAI was going after, so to speak. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. And I think with some of the other things that we'll discuss later, and I think the fact that 1,100 employees from these big companies are calling for stronger AI risk oversight makes the point that this is something that should be taken seriously. And
Yeah,
maybe I
yeah.
took it too lightly. But I'm still gonna just add in that proviso is AI has shown that it can break out and it can go and explore, but still hasn't done anything bad. So I guess it raises the question, what might make it go bad or really rogue? Sounds like a movie.
I know what you're saying, Paul. However, when you think about the fact that they started the experiment on a Friday and there was only updates, I think, on a Tuesday about having worked with them for the last 24 hours. So it sounds like they started an experiment on Friday. OpenAI did not know that the systems had actually left the container that they were supposed to be in and had tried to hack into another system, and it was Hugging Face who had to inform them that this is what's happening. So they discovered that it was happening, and they tried to use OpenAI or Anthropic systems to diagnose the issue, but they were not able to because of the guardrails. That meant that they ended up using GLM 5.2, which is a Chinese model, to diagnose the issues and help them through. So it's an ironic situation. The fact that nobody in OpenAI actually knew that this happened, they had to be told, and they had to use the Chinese model to help them fix the issue. And expanding on that, there's been news today that Anthropic has found out that they've actually done some hacking themselves while they were testing their systems without realizing it. Earlier this year, they hacked three separate companies, and both Anthropic and the companies involved had no idea that this had happened. We just have to be happy that Anthropic is taking responsibility and owning up to that happening. But in a world where such large language models can do things like this with nobody being any wiser, it is a little bit eyebrow raising.
I fully agree with you. Marie, you played around with Opus 5 this week. Do you want to share your experience?
Yes, yes, definitely. I have been using it for all of my work. I made Opus my default system for the week just so I can get an idea of how it feels. To be honest, because I was already using Sonnet and everybody was praising Sonnet, I wouldn't say that I saw any significant difference. Opus is very good at doing longer term work. It was very good in that sense. But apart from that, I didn't see much of a performance difference between Sonnet 5 and Opus 5. There are a couple of things that I have noticed that I agree with quite a lot of the other YouTube people that have commented likewise. And it also kind of keys into Anthropic's own guide on how to prompt Opus 5. One of the most prominent things was the fact that you don't have to prompt it as in-depth as before. It just takes a few prompts. You just have to be very precise in what it is that you want it to do. So you give it the beginning state and you give it the end state, and you, if possible, one or two examples. But you don't have to iterate and say, "Let's check this at this point and make sure you go and click on this specific thing." So you don't have to be as pedantic in your prompts for it. That's one of the major things. And it's so ironic because it used to be that when we look at any video or any training on prompting, it was stressed around being very clear about every step of what you want done. And now we're falling in the other direction where we're saying, don't try and constrain it too much. Give it the end goal and give it as free reign as possible. I
Yeah,
think that's the
I think it needs to be highlighted, of course, that this is specifically to Opus 5. I think they're trying to save on tokens, but we're not going to go there. What we spoke about on Monday in our AI weekly chat is that with the other models, it helps to iterate. So if you have a large task, break it down into different phases and then feed the AI or the LLM those phase by phase, so you could double check the results. So that is the important thing also to remember.
I think another thing to note is the fact that higher thinking, because thinking is on by default, you really don't need to put it on higher thinking mode. So this automatically goes into thinking mode. And the thing to take away, I would say, if you want to use Opus 5 specifically effectively, you may have to relook at how you prompt it and tweak your skills as well. But Anthropic has released a prompting guide specifically for Opus 5 as well.
That reminds me, I have to update. I have a chat prompt GPT. I'm going to have to update that. So when I want to create a prompt specifically for Opus 5, I can just say to chat, listen, this is a prompt for Opus 5. Use those instruction sets, which improve your outcome.
Saying that though, in terms of the how much cheaper it is, because at the moment, Claude Code and Cowork, they have significantly higher levels all the way through, I think, to August 19th, and Cowork is August 5th. It almost makes it impossible for you to get a feel for how quickly your token is being used because you're giving so much more at the moment. So maybe when all of those free sessions have expired, then we will be able to get a better feeling about how long the tokens last and if they're really a proper cost savings. Because it's one thing for all the dashboards, but when you're using them in real life, it's another thing altogether.
Well, I glimpsed another AI newsletter earlier, and I saw that OpenAI has dropped the token costs on ChatGPT 5.6. I'm curious to see how that works. Of course, I'm quite happy at the moment because I'm using my subscription from OpenAI inside Hermes. And for what I want to do, it is just amazing. I had it construct blogs for me yesterday with very little input, and the blogs were really good. I just directed it to the website and it studied the relevance of what was on there. And I also gave it a screenshot of the Facebook page. And then it came up with ideas. I told it to run with it, and it did that. So, yeah, I'm not part of the token wars at the moment.
Good for you.
The other thing we've spoken about this week, Mary, is search and how Google search has changed. And I know I'm still up in the air because I tend to use the AI mode quite a lot. But there are times when it's necessary to use the regular mode. But I also know a lot of people don't like the deep integration of the AI mode. And so they've gone over to DuckDuckGo. How do you find it?
I'm a bit contrary in the sense that I find the AI aspect of Google search quite useful. I find that I've been using that a lot. And these days, when I start a search, I would say about half the time I would start the search with Google AI. Reason being, when I go to Google, I usually have a question in mind. And that question is several layers deep. So it's not just find me one thing and then that's the end of it. It's a question that I have in mind and then it gives me the answer. And then I can probably ask 2 or 3 more questions before I say, okay, give me some websites or give me some links for the thing that I want. Because you will first answer what it is that I'm looking for. I may not be clear what it is that I'm looking for until I've asked a couple of questions. So I found that quite useful. And I'm finding that I am using it at least half the time. The only downside is the fact that if I come back to the chats at a later date, sometimes the whole chat is not saved. So the first question you ask is always there, but the subsequent questions that you ask may not be saved at all in the chat. I think because on some level we're used to chatting with AI bots with the chat GPTs and the Claude, you always think your chat history is going to be there. And we've trained ourselves in that way. So it's always a shock when I come back. I'm like, where did I have that conversation? I'm sure I had that conversation. And then I open Gemini, it's not there. And then I'm looking in Google search AI mode and the whole conversation is gone already, but it's still useful though.
Just to finish this bit up, Mary, you found some very interesting statistics for us on how much AI is used in search at the moment. Do you want to share that with us?
Sure. So right now, the AI overviews appear in about 43% of searches. So that's almost half, give or take. And that's up 15% from a year ago. So it feels like it is slowly becoming the norm for people to just do the AI search or maybe start the search and then move on to the AI search from there. It falls in line with what I've just said. I come with a question and then I ask a couple more questions to clarify what I need before I select any links.
Thank you, Mary. The next thing we wanted to talk about was Google Flow. I promised that I'd have a look. And to be honest, I didn't have a lot of time to play around with it because I'm working on my website, Cape Town Travel and Tourism, and a Facebook page I have attached to that. So I got playing around inside Leonardo AI. And as we mentioned last week, and Leonardo is in fact free with Canva. And you get 8,500 tokens a month if you have a Canva plan to use in Leonardo. So that's quite cool. So I played around and I must say that it is a rather cool tool. So I just want to show you guys quite quickly what I did. And here we have my library for images I've created and played around with. And you can see it's quite cool. It converts still images created. You can create videos from it. It's really cool for that. And it's become really good with being very accurate in the images it creates. But on top of that, of course, if you look, if I look inside the image, or if I highlight this one, you can edit it in Canva, you can use magic layers, you can upscale it, remix it, create a video from it. So inside Leonardo, you have quite a lot of amazing tools, and you also have access to quite a large variety of image editors. I find Flux really good for creating images as well. Nana Banana, Flux, and Chat. For me, they're the best. And then I wanted to show you Google Flow. So Google Flow is giving 50 credits away for, what did we say, until the 19th of August or for August?
It's for the whole of August.
Oh, well, yeah. So you can produce 3 videos. So this was the starting image. Then I got it to create these other images as well. That voila, so it creates a video. Which is not going to replace Steven Spielberg, not the way I prompted it or played with it, but it's a nice place to go and play around with AI video creation, which is my weak point at the moment. But like I said, I have a lot of tools, so that will change. So, Mary, That was my sucky attempt at video creation and using Google Flow. Let's show us what you created because I think yours is much better.
I don't know about much better. Yours is definitely more exciting. I just played around with the avatar feature. So on the Google Flow page, once you're signed into Google and you log into Google Flow, you'll see your account details on the top right of the page as usual. And if you click on that, then you'll be able to add an avatar here. Because I already have one existing at the moment, it just has manage avatar. But if you haven't created one, then it will tell you to create an avatar. You click on that button and then you have to scan it with your phone and then follow some steps to create your avatar. I guess it's Google's way of making sure that it's you actually creating it and not some strange person. So once that's created, then you can just go into a new project and create videos or images based on your character that you have created. And to use it, all you need to do is just at, and then you do me, and it's selected and it will work with that. So I use an image with a podcast chair, original image. ChatGPT helped me remove the original person sat here. And you will select this image, select, and then at yourself. And then put in a description for what you want to be created. Here we want to do a video. So we just select the video, 10 seconds. Again, because you want to save on credits, best for you to generate them one by one, because a 10-second video would take about 15 credits. And if we're getting 50 credits, we want to be sure that we use them wisely. Select the Omni Flash. That's the latest one, which will give you the best results. Select one and you're good to go. Obviously, you give it a prompt as descriptive as you can, and the prompt will then go ahead and generate little video. So this was my first attempt. I've put myself in the chair and
Welcome to the AI School of Possibilities weekly chat, where we talk about how we are incorporating the use of AI in our everyday work.
so I plan to play around with that a bit more, do some more 10-second videos and then put them together. And you never know where that may come in useful. Last week, I showed how to make little clips on Notebook LM, if you remember. And this week it is on Google Flow. I have honestly been in and out of Google Flow several times with no idea what to use it for, apart from something cute like what you did as well. And I decided on trying out the avatar this time around, and it seemed to have been okay. I wouldn't say that I'm 100% convinced with my avatar yet, but I'll tweak it a little bit more and see what we can get.
Mary, I don't know about you, but I love books. So I know I spent a lot of my childhood in libraries. And there was some news this week. First, the bit that really annoys me. So there's two bits of news around books and libraries. Anthropic, they try and be so perfect. But then when you learn that they are destroying so many books, old books that are out of print, so they want to scan them quickly so they can train their AI models on them. So they remove the spine so it's easier to quickly scan the pages. But then in a lot of instances, they shred the books. I'm sorry, but I just think that is unacceptable. You can't just destroy whole books like that. If you're making billions, why can't you spend some money to repair those books and donate them to future generations? Why do you have to destroy them? But then on the other side is the other story that came out of the US. This is quite interesting. When I first read the headlines, obviously the headlines was make it sound like they're trying to stop people using AI, etc. But in fact, I think it boils more down to people's need for privacy, uh, constantly having AI forced on them, whether it's in an app on your phone or on the computer. where it defaults to AI suddenly. And this is also why a lot of people are moving to the likes of DuckDuckGo. So basically, what this does is they teach people how to turn off smartphone assistants, stripping AI overviews from search engines and blocking tech companies from harvesting personal data to train models. Now, I think maybe I'm a bit blasé about it because I quite honestly think they have harvested a lot of data already and they know what they know. I have some friends that's involved in cybersecurity, and I'm aware how this information is abused by nefarious characters. So, not a bad thing. That's something for me that's quite positive. What are your thoughts on it?
Definitely agree with that. The headline doesn't quite cover what the real story is, and I think that's definitely a positive, especially for older folks that don't really know how to navigate this new AI world of ours.
And the other thing, I think this is the third story about Anthropic this week. I think they're getting hammered. And this third story is thousands of shared Claude AI conversations and artifacts were exposed on Google and Bing search results because Anthropic failed to include no index tags on its shared link pages. So when users shared chat links publicly on forums, Discord, or blogs, search engines crawlers could discover and index them, exposing highly confidential data like medical records, corporate project details, crypto keys. Somebody somewhere got
Yeah.
rich. The information has been scrubbed by Anthropic and search engine since, but it highlights for me one thing. There's if you want to be privacy concerned, don't just take it for granted. So let me quickly share. If you're going to Claude and you're going to setting and you choose privacy, then switch this on. Do not let them train their chatbots on your data. You do the same thing inside ChatGPT. And that way around, you're one step closer to protecting your data from being leaked.
I think that's a very important setting, and we cannot harp on enough about it. But everyone, just switch that off so that your data is not automatically used for the training. We can't end without making some comment about our eyewear, can we?
If you're going to live in the cyber world, why not use it? And, you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, I think let's not get away from the fact that a lot of what a lot of us use AI for, I use it for work, etc. But there's a fun aspect to it. So let's not, I think, and I think the whole point behind it is there's a lot to be taken seriously, but let's not take ourselves too seriously all the time. As we know, a lot of people that come to us for training, it's also the fun little things that make a big difference to them.
Very true. And thanks for the reminder, Paul. Okay, so I think with that, we can close out for the week. Thanks everyone again for dropping by. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we shall see you again next week for our weekly AI chat.
Thank you, Mary, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Ciao.